So the overall idea here is rather than bringing the terabytes or petabytes of data to the models, the easiest way is to bring the models to the data. And that's what more and more organizations are focused on, because they do not want to spend, number one, spend millions of dollars in storage for replicating the data. And secondly, they do not want to do something very specific for just integrating AI into their workflows.
Right now, what we're seeing is a lot of customers don't want to spend millions and millions of dollars on a bunch of PhDs doing theoretical AI work. We're at a point now where AI is becoming mainstream and people want to build useful solutions for their organization. So a lot of the work that we're doing has been taking AI technology that at this point is mature enough for businesses to use it, and then integrating that technology into their business so that they can do useful things with it. So, and a lot of it ends up being kind of two categories, and Ajay, I'll let you add to this, but the one category is business automation, so taking things that they're already doing and doing it more efficiently, because AI can do things that until recently used to be things you couldn't automate. The second thing is also replacing, or not replacing, but making analysts more efficient. We've had a lot of demand for kind of what we call chat with your data, various ways of interacting with your data using AI so that your analysts are more efficient and so that maybe your broader organization can interact with your data warehouse. Want to add to that, Ajay?
Absolutely. Jake, you're spot on. From the business perspective, when I look at the AI, more and more the C-suite are looking at how they can actually integrate AI in their day-to-day workloads, number one. And number two is overall, how can they make it any process that's already existing and has been ongoing for a few years, how to make it more efficient. So like Jake, you mentioned the giving the power to the analyst. That's where AI is heading towards. Secondly, mainly the main part, what I'm looking at is how can I use that data that I've been storing for 5 to 10 years, make more business decisions for us. And that's where AI is heading towards, more in becoming mainstream and becoming a day-to-day activities, bringing the day-to-day activities into the mix.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that have changed in the last couple of years. So the first is obviously large language models have become increasingly secure, and there are a lot more options. So large language models like Cohere and Llama 370 billion are very, very good. And all of the cloud providers, Oracle included, offer them in a very affordable way. And a lot of the questions around security and anonymity have been answered. And so customers know, depending on what kinds of data they're having the AI interact with, they can securely know that their data is just going to the right servers, whether that's using a platform as a service version of Llama, or whether that's hosting it on a VM they control, or using a dedicated platform as a service model. They know that where their data is going, and they can trust that if they write their code right, or if they use the tools right, their data is secure. So you're seeing a lot of customers leveraging large language models that previously were saying, well, I can't do that because I've got HIPAA data or I've got PCI data that might be on that flow. Now we're saying, well, if you already have web applications, the same way that you would apply security controls to web applications, you can do that to large language models if you use them correctly. So you're seeing a lot of organizations leveraging large language models in ways they didn't use to use them. The second thing is that cloud providers are providing platform as a service tools to make it so that it's really easy to use these tools. So previously, if you did want to run, say, a large language model, but you wanted it to be dedicated for you, so you knew where your data was, there was concerns over, well, I'm going to have to spin up virtual machines, and it's really complicated to set up. And now there are platform as a service tools in Oracle Cloud that allow you to spin that up very quickly and start leveraging it. And it's still private, so your data is private, but it is managed by the platform. So you don't have to have a bunch of AI engineers, or even, honestly, the DevOps work is very minimal too. It's just spin up the cluster of the platform, leverage the tools, and it's very easy for most of the team members to use it once it's spun up and running. The second thing I think is that we've seen a lot more libraries be created for creating AI agents and for writing software leveraging things like retrieval augmented generation. These things have gotten a lot easier. There's also some really good Oracle 23 AI tooling and other kinds of tooling that makes indexing data a lot easier. And Ajay, maybe you can talk more about that and how that's become more accessible.
No, absolutely. And I'll take just a 10 seconds to add to your statement. The main idea here is, guys, rather than bringing the data to the models, now we have the ability, especially in the Oracle Cloud, to bring the models to the data itself. The security of whether we talked about HIPAA or PCI data, rather than moving the data from one location to the second location, when I bring the models to the data, we actually, like Jake mentioned, we already apply the authentication and authorization rules. So nobody, unwarranted person can access this data at all. And thirdly, overall is that these models only get the read-only access to the data. They do not modify the data and then provide the results back to the end user. So the overall idea here is, rather than bringing the terabytes or petabytes of data to the models, the easiest way is to bring the models to the data. And that's what more and more organizations are focused on, because they do not want to spend millions of dollars in storage for replicating the data, and secondly, they do not want to do something very specific for just integrating AI into their workflows. So this is where the enterprise-wide tool sets are coming very handy and are becoming very popular in the day-to-day activities.
What we've seen is that a lot of companies are writing software with Python, but they use tools that are low code, like Streamlit or Gradio. We've also seen customers in the Oracle space using things like Apex. Apex now, a lot of customers who've used the Oracle database know that every Oracle database comes with Apex. Apex also has low-code widgets for interacting with AI that leverage Oracle 23 AI to do the heavy lifting. Oracle 23 AI has a couple new features. One of them is called vector embedding and vector search, where you can load in documents and index them, and it'll take care of all of the underlying details and infrastructure for you. The other one is called Select AI, which allows you to query your data in Oracle database, leveraging AI to write the queries. So imagine using Oracle Apex with some of its built-in chat widgets, which are low or no code, and you basically connect that up to Oracle 23 AI, and you're building out user experiences leveraging AI that are low or no code experiences. They're very easy for teams to set up, but then under the hood, it's actually doing prompt engineering and retrieval augmented generation and automatic generation of queries using AI, but it's like very accessible. So on the one extreme, you've got total off-the-shelf solutions like Oracle Digital Assistant that in theory don't require coding, although from what we've seen, you do a little scripting inside of there if you really want the outcome you want, or people using tools like Apex or low-code platforms like Gradio or Streamlit. But we do see a lot of adoption. We've had a lot of success using Apex and Oracle 23 AI, as well as Digital Assistant, although under the hood, Digital Assistant doesn't necessarily use all of 23 AI's functionality, though it can if you set up some scripting and things. Apex honestly is built for that and seems to be working really well. So I think we're going to see this complementary, I think you'd agree, Ajay, right? It's this complementary kind of product versus custom, but I think it's low code is going to be the custom side of it. It's less code, right?
Agreed, absolutely. I mean, the main thing is the pre-built tool sets are getting people started, but when you go into the additional capabilities and look at the enhanced features, this is where customers are going to go into low code or do a custom code to actually enhance these tool sets to use the right platform for it. Absolutely, you nailed it. Yep.
And there's a lot of different Python libraries and stuff out there. But like I said, for those who are using Oracle Database, if you've got Oracle Database already, talk to us. Apex has a number of kind of Oracle 23 AI-centric widgets now that can leverage AI very efficiently to do things like chatbots, but leveraging your 23 AI data, right? So, and that's, it's not being talked about as much as we think it should be. Maybe because it kind of competes with Oracle Digital Assistant. It doesn't come with all the integrations that ODA has though, right? So you'll see there's like several different competing tools that Oracle offers. that do different things, but very closely aligned, right? So you have digital assistant, you have AI agent, and then you've got now 23AI with some of the Apex widgets. And depending on your use case, we have to figure out what's the easiest way to get you a solution that doesn't require, months and months of custom software development.
What we have seen mostly is that customers are looking at how to actually automate the manual stuff first, or the manual tasks. Okay, I'll give you an example of it. Filling up an RFP, tedious job, absolutely. But what happens if I give the LLM model about 50 RFPs from the past where the team has already filled up, and use that actually as the source to train itself, and then fill up the questions for us? Okay, that's a manual task basically that manual task is automated. Secondly, one of the use cases that Jake's team just worked on is the whole OCR recognition, basically coming from the PDF files or the images coming from different healthcare providers, and also not only just reading the incoming images, but also validating the data as well. So those were, you have seen people who are doing page after page, looking at the OCR, looking at validating the data, doing one record by record or one page by one page. Now you can actually automate that process itself, and that actually saves a lot of time and a lot of money as well.
And I want to expand on that, right? So OCR is not a new technology. Optical character recognition takes a picture or a scan and tells you what text is on the scan. But that's actually just data. That's not information. Information is when you make that useful. And so we've seen a lot of customers now leveraging things like document understanding or large language models to then take that OCR data and categorize the document, and then parse the document into structured data that can be loaded into their ERP or into other systems that they use for whatever it is their business does, right? This particular customer was doing things around processing of healthcare records, right? That's obviously a very time-consuming task. If you can be more efficient at it, obviously that's literally you're printing money, right? The same is true. We've had a number of customers looking at taking invoices and putting them into their ERP. That's not a new use case, but large language models are making it so that they go from maybe being able to ingest 90% of them that way to 100%, right? Because they're smarter, right? And they can do things that previously, you'd have a pretty big failure rate. Now it's very accurate. So, as well as summarizing data. So we've seen customers dealing with customer tickets coming in, and it uses LLMs to summarize and dispatch those to the right people. Just all of these use cases where it used to be a human being had to do the work, and a large language model can do it as accurately or more accurately. Certainly advanced analysis is tough, right? Because the data is not in the systems, but a lot of this kind of, call center kind of work, a lot of that can be semi-automated, right? And you're literally, for these organizations, they've built into their cost structure that they're going to have all of this manual work. And so they're basically printing money when they do this.
And I'll add to that is also that the healthcare company we talked about is not only using that for the OCR, which we talked about, the whole character recognition, but also understanding if the claims coming from the patients are valid claims or not. And they put the claim rules in place. Like if I go to a doctor's appointment, my second appointment cannot be before my first appointment. That's a fake claim. So those kind of things now they are able to automate, number one. And secondly, what we have seen more and more customers, which we talked about earlier, is having a chat with your data rather than writing select queries or SQL queries using different expensive tools. Customers are now using simple web pages to interface directly to the model, which interfaces to the data, and you can actually ask questions like which are the highest grossing movies in 2024, and you don't need to write the SQL, you don't need to understand the tables and the columns underneath it, and an LLM actually looks at the views and then brings the data back to you, and that's how it's trained. So those are the things where customers are adapting AI more and more, and it's actually becoming more of a mainstream tool set to use rather than just an experimental technology.
we've seen that the biggest challenge is kind of the old challenge, right? Garbage in, garbage out. There's still effort that has to be spent getting your data somewhere and making sure that the data is correct. So a lot of the work companies are doing with data warehousing doesn't fully go away. But now, instead of just having a small number of analysts and executives using your data warehouse, you can now leverage it for perhaps your entire company, right? So it's taking your data warehouse and making it substantially more valuable than it used to be, but you still have to do that work of cleansing your data, making sure it's accurate, cleaning it up, right? Getting it into a place where you can query it. Now, you can potentially use database table links or DB links to get data from multiple sources, but if the data is not consistent, if it's full of errors, garbage in, garbage out, that problem doesn't go away. AI will reason with the data you give it, but if you give it garbage data, it doesn't always recognize that the data is not valid because it doesn't know what's happening in your business in the physical world. Whereas your analysts have enough of an eye on hopefully what the business is actually doing in the real world that if they get a report that just doesn't make logical sense, they'll go, something about this report seems strange, and they'll go figure out why the source systems are maybe double counting orders or missing data that they need, and then they'll fix it. So that work of the analyst does not completely disappear, but it becomes more strategic, right? Which that's always been the hard part, right? You hear garbage in, garbage out. That's a 50-year-old term at this point, right? That problem doesn't go away. But now that you've got the data in a data warehouse and cleaned, now you can leverage that data in more ways.
From being a CTO myself, the idea here is, okay, number one, we need to enable the end users we should not be afraid of end users bringing the new technology or new terms into the day-to-day workloads. Okay. Secondly, overall, we need to understand how AI can actually help. It's not there to take your job away. It's actually make your job more sophisticated. And thirdly, the generative AI, the AI agents, these are just going to getting enhanced as the time passes on, and they are going to get more and more powerful of what they can do. And this is where the leaders, it's on the leaders to actually enhance and bring those enhanced technologies into the mainstream so that their employees are feeling more entitled as well and actually using it to the right purpose rather than trying to block it. It's our goal to make that technology bring it in a day-to-day role rather than making it a separate science-like project, which is not in this case it is. I mean, AI itself has more than a $3 trillion, Gartner says that it's about $3 trillion industry that's coming up in the next 2 to 3 years. I mean, that's huge. And if we are missing the target in this case, we're going to just be left behind. And competition will take over the whole market very easily.
I think the first misconception is you think you might not be doing it yet. Your employees are all using it.
Yeah.
AI is inside of your organization already. A large portion of your team's work is probably being produced by AI and you don't even know it. So keep that in mind, right? These tools are becoming pervasive. When you do a Google search or a Bing search, AI results are embedded inside of the results. It's pervasive already, right? It's already here. It's a question of whether or not you are using it effectively and you're administrating it effectively.
Yep. And I'll add a second point to that is it's not hard to get started. It's actually very, very easy to get started. And the only thing is you need to put the boundaries, some of the boundaries around it for governance perspective. So your data, your private organizational data is not going outside in the public.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent.
And to add to that, it's also kind of like shockingly cheap sometimes.
Yeah.
Right. Some of these things, your perception is, that's going to cost $300,000 a year for that agent, and you'll do the math and be like, well, it's actually going to cost you like $1,500 a month to run it. And we'll do these bill of materials, Ajay, and it'll be shockingly affordable. There's some build out, but then the cost is shockingly affordable.
Absolutely.
To the point where people almost don't believe us sometimes, and it's like, no, this is not expensive at this point, right?
Yeah, and I was talking to a customer yesterday, and they basically didn't understand the power of AI and how it's integrated, like we mentioned earlier, with the corporate enterprise applications like EBS and PeopleSoft, it's very, very easy to get integrated and bring that into the process itself rather than having a standalone technology by itself.